Okay, looks like we're live. You know what? Let me turn the sound up a little bit. That should do it. All right. Yo, yo, what is good, everybody? It is the Godfather of VR, the ageless one of the man, Leaky Clay, coming at you with a little bit of PC talk today. Uh, as some of you know, my PC took a dump last week, and I took it to Best Buy to let the Geek Squad deal with it. As we speak right now, it is in transit. What is up? What is up, Thomas Burton? What's going on? As we speak, my PC is in transit on its way to Kentucky. I don't know if that is the Alienware facility or if that is a another Best Buy facility. But in any case, once it gets there, the PC will be examined, and then from there they will make a determination what to do about it, whether they can fix it or whether they'll just refund my money. And originally, I wanted the PC to be fixed, and but I changed my mind about that. Um, and you can see by these two PC pics that I have, the one directly above my head, that is the PC that I currently have. That is the Alienware Aurora R8. But I want the PC next to it, and that is the Alienware Aurora R9. They're not too far away from each other. Only a couple of things, even though these computers look completely different specs wise, only a couple of things separate these PCs. I'll explain in a second. I'm very interested in PC gaming, and if I should take the plunge. So the title may be cautious. I would still encourage you to do it because um, I'm going to get to that. Because I think my PC taking a crap, a lot of it was my own doing. I think now that I had to stop and do some logical thinking, I think I overworked the computer. I think I put a heavy load on the computer consistently. I mean, the first two computers that died on me, they died in the very same manner within the exact time frame. So I think the first two computers that died on me were a manufactured defect. This computer, what's up, Jay Swolls? How you doing, my man? This Alienware directly above my head, I think some other reason why it might have taken a dump. I think there's several factors, but I think I weighed in on it too, because I think I put too much weight on it. So getting back to these two PCs, like I said, the one above me is the Aurora R8, which is what I have. It has a GPU. It has a RTX 2070. CPU. It has a i5 94 or 9700, which is overclockable, if that's a term. It can be overclocked. Had a 1 terabyte hard drive and about a 256 gig SSD, and it was liquid cooled. Um, Now the PC to my right, that or the PC to your right, the tall white one, that is the Alienware Aurora R9. It has the same 1 terabyte hard drive. I believe it may even have the same 256 gig solid state drive. Um, it has the same RTX 2070. The difference is the processor. It has a i7 9700 8-core CPU, and that is the reason why I want it. Thomas Burton, have you considered building your own? And sorry for all the questions. Hey, no, man, there's nothing wrong with that, because, um, you know, hindsight is 2020. I probably should have asked more questions before I went and bought a PC. But I know one thing: I didn't want to build it. And then the other thing about it is, I just did not feel like getting my hands dirty. I just did not feel like building it. And if I contributed to killing off this PC, then it's a good thing that I bought this PC instead of building it, because every one of these PCs that I bought that died on me had a warranty on it. So, whereas if I go off and build a PC on my own, there's no warranty. So if something within that PC takes a crap, then I'm out of pocket to replace it. So, and the first two PCs that I bought, they were CyberPower PCs. Same deal, 1 terabyte hard drive, 256 gig SSD. Had a Ryzen 2700 and a RTX 2070. It ran pretty good. I paid $1,400 for that PC. It took a crap. Long story short, the SSD went out on it. I only had the computer 2 weeks. It took a dump. I took it back. It took about 2 weeks because they had to go through this same procedure to send it to wherever they had to send it to. And then they sent me a text saying that I needed to come in to resolve the issue. And when I got there, long story short, it was like, that computer's toast. We're going to refund you your money. So they gave me my money back and prorated the amount from the warranty that I put on it, because I think I spent a couple $100 on the warranty. So they didn't give me the full refund on the warranty. They prorated it based on how long I had the computer. So it ended up knocking off like $15 or $20 off of that. So they gave me all that money back, and I tried to make myself believe that the first computer was like an isolated incident. So I bought the exact same computer again, and 2 weeks later it took a crap again in the exact same manner. The SSD went out. This time Best Buy didn't even bother trying to send it out. They just gave me my money right on the spot, and that brought me to this Alienware PC, the Aurora R8, and that PC it retailed for $2,000. I got it on sale for $1,800, and then a week after I got it, it went on sale again. It went down to $1,600. So Best Buy refunded me the difference and gave me back $200, which was cool. And up until that computer took a dump, I was happy with it because the computer ran good. Now, the reason, the other differences between these two computers is the computer I had was liquid cooled, whereas this R8 this R9 is fan cooled. So the reason why I want the R9 is because of the processor, because it has a i7 9700 in it. So after my PC took a dump, I did some thinking. I was like, what could have caused that PC to go out? And I chalked it up to a number of things. I was like, my son was downloading stuff on there because he was always wanting to mod stuff on the computer. So I thought it could have been possible that he downloaded something that corrupted the PC. Also, I figured that it's possible that the SSD went out, or the computer was overheating. But if it was doing that, I was like, I needed to find out why. Why is it doing this? And so I started thinking. I was like, I was gaming, in virtual reality games. I think puts a harder strain on your CPU than flat screen games. So that was something to consider. And then I'm gaming and streaming from the same PC, so it was making my PC work extra hard. So I started thinking about that, and then so I said, well, when I get this PC back or I get another one, I need to find a way to connect the two PCs so I can stream from one PC and game from the other, and I'm not putting an extra load on the gaming PC. Thomas Burton, after you answer how difficult it was to keep it protected from viruses, Christopher Hart, what's going on? How difficult was it to protect it from viruses? I didn't mess around with anything that I thought could potentially be a virus. Now my son was downloading stuff. The one thing he downloaded that had me a little bit concerned was a mod for Minecraft Java Edition. There was a mod to be able to play Minecraft in VR, and he downloaded the file to do that. And when he did that, the like ads were popping up on my PC, and it was like we had to keep closing these ads, before we could do anything. So, you know, so that could have contributed to it, but what it was is when he downloaded the mod um, for the Minecraft, it also included a free antivirus. Craig, what is up? How you doing, my man? Yo 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 yo. Um, I hope everybody can still hear me. So when he downloaded that VR mod for Minecraft, I think it also came with a free antivirus, and because that antivirus was free, I think that's where all the ads were coming from that kept popping up on the PC. So I removed that antivirus, and that kind of got rid of the ads. But so hey, Happy New Year, Craig. Same to you. Thank you. So I'm thinking that when I get the new PC, whether they replace that PC or whether I get a new one, um, I don't want to do that again and use the same PC to stream and game, because it's putting an extra workload on the PC. So I said I gotta find a way to connect these two PCs so I can game on one and use it strictly for gaming, and then use the PC that I'm sitting at right now and use that for streaming. And I watched a bunch of videos, and the general consensus is with all the videos that I watch is that all these uh, all these content creators from the videos that I watch, they all believe that you need at least an i7 to be able to stream and game from the same PC. But I don't care if I get something with an i9 in it. I don't want to do that anymore. Yeah, people keep saying build one. Hey, Lincoln, pop some popcorn. People keep telling me to build one, Craig. One of the reasons why I don't want to build one is because it won't be under warranty. If something goes out on it, then I'm out of pocket to have to replace it. So with these computers, now it's true that I went through 3 computers, but I only paid for one because of the warranties I put on these computers. Um, so I'm getting ready to go on my 4th computer off of the original $1,400 that I spent in the first place. So if it wasn't, if it wasn't for those warranties, God knows how much money I would be out of trying to fix what went wrong with every one of those PCs. I probably would have been out about $1,000 trying to get those things fixed. Thomas Burton, what pre-build do you recommend if you try PC gaming? On a side note, I play a lot of Destiny, so I don't know how demanding that will be. I really don't know, and I really can't. I really wouldn't know what to recommend. So yeah, parts are under warranty, but I just found it to be a lot easier dealing with Best Buy. I came in, told them the computer don't work. Yeah, the first a couple of times they, like the PC that's out right now, it had to be shipped to Kentucky, but the second one that went out, when I told them exactly, I said it went out exactly the same way the first one did. This is a manufacturing defect. So they didn't give me any hassle. They just gave me my money back right on the spot instead of going through procedures to try to send it out. Um, so it, but that is a plan, Craig, that I do want to experiment because I have not fully built a computer before in my life. I've kind of assisted. I kind of assisted in building one. Um, I don't know, about 8 years ago, back when Windows 7 was still out. A guy that I worked with, he gave me a pick list of stuff to order, and then he came over and he was building the computer, and then like halfway through it, I was like, look, finish walking me through this, but let me finish it because I want to get my hands dirty. So I assisted in building a computer, and that was really the only time I ever like halfway built a computer. Um, So that's the other thing. Simply put, Craig, I don't want to go through that. I just don't simply want to build it. I'd rather buy one. Hold on a second. So Project X, build live and have the chat help out. Um, Now, what I was saying was that what I want to do is build an experimental PC. I want to build a budget PC. I want to build one of those first. So if I fuck something up, no big deal. Um, so what I'm looking to do is like maybe over the next 6 months, start buying pieces to build a budget PC and build that, and then sell it or use it as a guinea pig or whatever. And then once I see that I can do it right, then I'll go ahead and drop some, some real money on building a monster. Excuse me. But right now, in the meantime, I want my computer replaced and I want to get something that's got an i7 because these videos that I watch, the general consensus is that you need at least an i7 to be able to stream and game from the same computer. But regardless of whether I get my computer back or whether I get a new one, I'm not going to do that when I get the computer back. I'm going to stream on one computer and game from the other. I've watched several videos. One video that I watched, there was so much unnecessary hardware. You had to buy a damn mixer for the audio. You had to buy a capture card and all kinds of like hardware. I was like, this shit ain't worth it. So I kept looking around and looking around at other videos, and then I found one video where one guy explained he explained that there's 3 ways to do it. One was with a capture card, another one I forgot how he said to do the other one, but the cheap and easy way to do it is to connect the 2 PCs on the same network. And to do that, there's a program, there is an NDI plugin for OBS that you can download. You download them to both PCs, the gaming PC and the streaming PC. On the gaming PC, you set the NDI as an output, and then on the streaming PC, you go find the gaming PC and add it as a source, and you can stream that way. The drawback to that is that it's definitely going to be in 720, and the picture's not going to be as sharp. So I'm willing to take that trade-off because I don't want to do that again, and like whatever PC I get, put it through the strain of both gaming and streaming on the same hardware. I've seen some video, some of this NDI video sick, and yeah, it don't look that good, but a lot of the streaming that I would be doing on PC would be to introduce new games. So I would be explaining the game as I go along and just pretty much in the meantime, like, hey, this doesn't represent what the game really looks like, blah, blah, blah. All this shit makes me appreciate what an amazing machine the PS4 Pro is, even though it is even though it's not nearly as powerful as a PC, because shit, I never had a problem with that Pro, other than the fact that it sounds like a jet. Thomas Burton said, shout out to Sick. What would you recommend to run Destiny well for a first time? That's who you want to talk to. You want to talk to Sick Humor. You said it's a terrible way to use 2 PCs. I mean, is the picture quality, losing the picture quality, is that the only trade-off by connecting 2 PCs on the same network? because I really don't want to kill another computer. And he says you can run. It's a very well optimized game. Okay. Oh yeah, you're still talking to him about Destiny. So if that is to be true, that you need something with at least an i7 in it to be able to game and stream on the same PC, um, then it wasn't a matter. It wasn't a matter of if my PC died, but when, because that PC got a lot of work. Between me gaming and streaming on it at the same time, and then whenever my son would come over, he would pretty much have the PC the whole day. Sometimes I would let him stream on it, but for the most part. So uh, he says, "Sup with sock." I think you mean to say sick, Jay Swoles. What do you both think are good max settings for a little while? A lot of PC stuff that I do, Thomas Burton. A lot of it is just like on the fly, like trial and error. And I really don't play flat screen games. I play mostly VR games. And so whenever I would play a VR game on my PC, I would turn the settings all the way up just to see how good it would look. Alabama Jones, what's good, man? I ain't seen you in a while. And then once I saw what the graphics looked like, I would turn it down to where the PC would still run good. So basically, I couldn't run the PC on ultra settings, otherwise the PC was gonna stutter. So I had to turn the settings down to high, and depending on the game, maybe even normal. You said also, what edged you guys into the PC world over console? Um, I don't know, I don't know what brought Sick there, but in my case, what brought me to the PC is the PlayStation VR did not have enough of the games that I wanted. That I wanted. I wanted more sim racing games. I wanted I wanted more sim racing games that had a VR multiplayer. I wanted more first person shooter games, and overall, I wanted more multiplayer games. And those categories are limited on the PlayStation VR. When it comes to sim racing in VR, your only options are GT Sport and Drive Club. And in the case of Drive Club, it looks blurry as shit. It does not look good. And then not only that, if the servers for Drive Club are not shut down yet, they will be shutting down soon. In the case of GT Sport, it simply does not have VR multiplayer. First person shooter games. As far as first person shooter games that are player versus player, really, really, all you got out there is Firewall. So if they had more of those games and more multiplayer games, because some VR games have a multiplayer on PC but don't on the PlayStation VR, like Raw Data being one of them. On the PC, Raw Data has a VR multiplayer, uh, but it does not on the PlayStation VR. So, and that's one of the reasons why I say that the floodgates are going to open when the PS5 comes out, because I think the PS5 is going to have enough power to handle the kind of stuff that I'm talking about, VR multiplayer games. So I would expect that we're going to see more first-person shooter games. We're going to see more than one VR sim, sim racing game with VR multiplayer, and we're going to see more games that's overall got multiplayer. So I guess the put it in so many words, what I think the PS5 is going to be able to do as far as VR goes, if the current PlayStation VR what it was able to do, what I think the PS5 is going to do, I might not have bought a PC. Because I did the research and I saw that it was a ton of VR multiplayer games out there on PC. So that's what made me go in the direction of the PC, and I love it. And like I said, I don't care if I burn up a PC every 60 days. I'm here to stay. I'm going to keep gaming on PCs. Um, the world is much much bigger. I had said it on my last podcast that I described the PlayStation VR as a planet, and when you throw in PC VR into the mix, it's like an entire solar system. It's just way more stuff out there. Um, you said any good role playing games on VR? Hmm. There might be some role playing games out there, but I can't think of any high budget AAA role playing games that's out there right now. But it is like so many games out there for VR. There's like a shitload of games out there. So you'd probably have to do a Google search and type it in. Saris is great. Was good. Happy New Year, my guy. New decade. What happened with your PC this time? Third PC took a dump. Why it took a dump, I don't know yet. It is in transit right now as we speak, on its way to Kentucky. So I expect to get some kind of explanation next week. I figure, it's supposed to get there tomorrow, so I figure it's gonna take a couple of days to get it checked in and crack it open and find out what's wrong with it. So I expect to have an answer on it next week. And I'm hoping it's dead. At first, I wanted it fixed, but I don't want it fixed. As I was saying before, the PC above my head, that's the PC that I got. The PC over here, this way to my right, that's what I want to get. And it's only $100 more than what I paid, for the PC that I got now. So same thing with my son. He's Borderlands is a role playing game on VR. Yeah, I guess I could go with that. Borderlands didn't really do anything for me. I don't think it was a bad game. I was just totally annoyed with that claptrap. It just made me sick to even hear his voice. But Thomas Burton, there you go, right there. Asgard's Wrath is dope as as a dope ass RPG on VR. I had based on the gameplay and the mechanics, I had described Asgard's Wrath as God of War in VR in terms of the gameplay. Being able to throw your weapons and bringing them back. Just the same way Kratos throws that axe and brings that axe back. You can do that kind of stuff in Asgard's Wrath, and to be able to see that in VR, to actually make that throwing motion and see that axe get stuck in one of the enemy's heads, and then bring that axe back. I love that. I can't say enough about Asgard's Wrath. Stormlands is another good game made by Insomniac, and I think this is just an opinion, but Insomniac did Stormland that just released on the Oculus platform a couple of months ago, and Insomniac has done a couple of other VR games. I'm beginning to wonder. I think Insomniac is talented, but I can't help but to wonder if it did Sony pick up Insomniac so they can get a 100% commitment from them, so they don't be bouncing around and trying to do work for Sony and do work for Oculus, because Oculus is picking up studios themselves. They just picked up I think Beat Games that developed Beat Saber. They just picked them up, and they said they're ready to pick up some more studios. Respawn just did, well, not just did. Respawn is working on Medal of Honor VR right now for Oculus. That's going to be Oculus exclusive. So where I'm going with that is that I think it's possible that if Sony had not picked up Insomniac, Facebook possibly would have picked them up. So regardless of why Sony picked up Insomniac, I still think it was a good pickup. I'd like to see Oculus pick up Ready at Dawn, though, the same developer that did The Order 1886, because I think they did a tremendous job on Lone Echo. It still remains as the best looking VR game that I've ever seen. No, I don't think I don't think they picked Insomniac because of VR. I think they picked Insomniac so they won't be moonlighting working on other projects when all they focus should probably be on the next Spider-Man game. So, but it doesn't hurt to have that added bonus in your pocket, knowing that they can develop a AAA VR game, though. So, I think it was a good pickup for Sony. Um, Cause like I said, you got a studio that can do both flat screen and VR. Project X, excuse me. You said it's insanely hard to find a Rift S in stock. This originally started out this problem with I don't think it was 100% because of Spider-Man either. No, I don't think it was 100% of Spider-Man, but I think that's probably the big bulk of the reason why they did it. Project X, you said it's insanely hard to find a Rift S in stock. Uh, if you've been following VR, the Oculus Quest is out of stock. As far as leaks through the Oculus website, it's on back order till late next month, till late February. The Valve Index, which is $1,000 headset, is sold out. And people are speculating that one of the reasons that it's sold out is because everybody's trying to get ready for Half-Life Alyx. That's going to be coming out here in a couple of months. But I don't think Oculus is promoting the Rift S the same way they've been promoting the Quest. But the Rift S is a great headset. It's comfortable. The picture is sharp. And I've said this before that on Steam, Oculus headsets account for over 51% of the VR headsets that's being used on Steam. So, I mean, they got to be selling. You said Moth is coming back. Is coming back. The audio in the original was amazing. Okay, Spartan. He said Spartan is free on Twitter. Oh, you were in Twitter jail? Glad you made it out. And Christopher Hart, you said just got a Samsung Odyssey AR VR, one of the most powerful VR headsets on the market for only $150. Yeah, I remember when you made that post on Twitter, and I immediately went and jumped on Best Buy to try to see if I could find one for $150. And it was not $150, and then that's what brought me back to you and be like, yo, where'd you get that from? So, but I understand like the mixed reality headsets, like the Samsung Odyssey and in the HP Reverb, they don't have tracking this as good as the Rift S because they only have 2 cameras, whereas the Rift S has 5 cameras. So, I mean, I would like to get a Samsung Odyssey if I can catch one at the same price you got yours. But if I did, I would use it for sim racing. Because I do believe the Samsung Odyssey has a resolution of 1600. So, Spartan God, lock him up and throw away the key. What's up, Pug? PUG, what's good with you? So that's the situation with the PC. Uh, the other subject is wow, I didn't realize how big the Oculus Quest communities are. I went on Facebook because I'm part of a couple of groups on Facebook, a couple of PlayStation VR groups, and since I've been playing the Quest more, I wanted to connect with communities, Quest communities, and I joined a couple of groups on the Oculus Quest, on Facebook. One of those groups had 18,000 members, which I was able to jump right into that one, and then the other one had 34,000 members, and I had to be let into the group by an administrator, but but wow, it's a lot of good posts on there. I've seen a lot of posts of people sharing their Christmas moments of when a family member tried an Oculus Quest for the first time. So those communities were massive, and it was like there was that list of Quest communities that I saw on Facebook was a mile long. I just decided to join the two biggest communities and just leave it at that, because I didn't want to join a community that might only have 100 members or something. I wanted to be part of some very active community, so my phone's always going off with alerts. So yeah, there is definitely some huge communities out there for the Oculus Quest. I'm going to work on trying to stream from the Oculus Quest. You can do a direct stream on the Oculus Quest. They do have a share button where all you got to do is just hit share and you will stream from Facebook, but I do not want to do that. I want to stream from YouTube or Twitch. So I will be looking into that. I think there might be a little bit of hardware involved that I have to buy. So I'll look into that, and if it doesn't cost me an arm and a leg, I think I probably will need a capture card. So that'll probably be part of the plan. You said the PSVR is sold out this holiday season also. Yeah, I think I seem to remember hearing that it's sold out, which is a good thing. But I hope Sony puts the PlayStation VR on sale again when Iron Man VR comes out next month. That sounds weird to say that Iron Man VR is coming out next month. Although it would be on February 28th, I mean, it's still technically the end of the month. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then within 30 days after that, we'll get Half-Life Alyx. So we'll be getting Black to Black. I said Black to Black. We'll be getting back-to-back blockbuster hits. So I'm definitely looking forward to those two games. Somewhere within that time frame too, I think we're gonna get Medal of Honor. I have to go back and double check, but I think Medal of Honor in VR is supposed to be coming in the first quarter of 2020. So if that be the case, I'd like to think that we'll get it within the next few months. If that is the case, it seems like we should have got a date by now, unless they're going to do another stealth launch, which wouldn't bother me either. Christopher Hart, you said that the reports for Sony VR and future gaming are looking incredible because PS5 will have the specs to handle Half-Life Alyx. Yes, that's why I was saying that I think the floodgates are going to open when the PS5 comes out, because it's going to be able to handle a lot of these VR games that's on PC right now. And so when developers develop a game, they'll be able to release it on PC and VR at the same time. So I think you're going to get way more first-person shooter games. I think you're going to get way more racing sims. I think you're going to get way more multiplayer games when the PS5 comes out, because I think these developers are going to be jumping all over the PS5 when it comes out. So I mean, the situation we got right now is a lot of games that's on PC right now that's supposed to be coming to PlayStation VR. They can't give us a concrete date. So some of these games, I'm wondering if the developers are trying to wait until the PS5 comes out. Um, I'm definitely curious to see how they gonna make Zero Caliber work on the PlayStation VR. Um, but if they can get that to work and it supports the aim controller, it's gonna sell pretty good on the PlayStation. You said Iron Man is a AAA experience, right? I would consider it a AAA experience for VR. Because I think it's definitely going to be a high budget game for VR. But I think the situation with Iron Man was the same situation with Firewall, where I think Sony has some developers that I really don't know much about, but these developers have you know a good amount of resources at their disposal. And Sony, when it comes to games, Sony's all about that quality. So it's very rare that Sony will let some broken bullshit get out there. Um, so I trusted Iron Man VR is going to be a good game that's going to run good. Not only that, some kind of technique that the PlayStation VR uses, where they double the frame rate, and because of that, um, the PlayStation VR runs at 120 frames per second. Um, so when I stop and look back at it, most of the games run pretty good on the PlayStation VR. It's just a matter of how good it looks. How much blur do we got? But most of the games actually run pretty good on the PlayStation VR. Christopher Hardy. Project S says, hopefully, if Half-Life sells well, Valve will make Half-Life 3. Oh, I wouldn't. People are calling Half-Life Alex a passion project. Um, so I don't think it matters whether Half-Life Alex sells well or not. I think they'll probably do another Half-Life game anyway. I mean, look at the response. I mean, look at the reaction you got for Half-Life Alex. There's a lot of people out there that's pissed that this game is not flat screen. There's a lot of people that's upset that this game is VR. So that right there tells you that there's a definitely an interest in the game. Uh, so I wouldn't doubt it that they're gonna come out with Half-Life 3. Now, that's another big question too. Is when the PS5 comes out, will Valve let this game come over to the PlayStation? Because after all, this is a Valve game. The people who own Steam. So this is their game. I don't know whether to call it an exclusive or not, because I don't know if it's going to remain solely on the Steam platform. Oh yeah, Jay Swolls, make no mistake about that. If they did let Half-Life come to the PlayStation VR, that would definitely be a system seller. No question about that. That's a game that, hell, if it did come to the PS5, that's a game that I would possibly double dip on. So I think no, I'm not gonna mess with the stream. Sometimes on this computer, when I go surfing the web while I'm streaming at the same time from this stream, it causes drops. So I guess I'll leave that alone. And damn, it's already been I'm already working my way towards an hour. Damn, it don't seem like I've been here that long. No, I mean, I'm getting ready to take off here pretty soon, so I could go jump on this quest. play some Dead and Buried 2 before I call it a night. But I went back into. I had to go back and re-download some of my VR games like Resident Evil, The Impatient, and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and play one of those games. After I tried Five Nights at Freddy's again on my son's PC, and it didn't scare me. So I think I'll be all right to go ahead and try one or two of these horror games. So I think I'll go ahead and give the Impatient a try, and go ahead and play some more Resident Evil on there. Now, the Weeping Doll, that was a game that was like, that shit was creepy because the surround sound on the PlayStation VR is like absolutely amazing, because I'm walking through this house and I'm walking down a hallway and I'm hearing doors open and doors slamming behind me. I'm hearing like chains dangling. So I tried to ignore it, but I'm like, whatever's coming after me, let me go find out what it is right now. So I turned around and go back to the room where all that noise was coming from and walked in there, and it was nothing in the room. And you could tell by all the dolls and shit like that in the room that it was a girl's bedroom. Half-Life 3, it's going to happen regardless of Alyx sales. I agree. Because, I mean, from what I heard, even before Half-Life Alyx even, came out, that people had been wanting a sequel to Half-Life 2 as it is. And you can play Half-Life 2 in VR. If you get the Garry's Mod game, naturally you need the Half-Life 2 game. You also need Garry's Mod because they added a VR mod. In Garry's Mod, there's a couple of little things you got to do, but you can play Half-Life Alyx 2 in VR. So I've been talking about that too. That's another thing that's been on the rise too, is independent people, individual people have been VR. They have been doing VR mods on some popular AAA games. I've mentioned that before, that Grand Theft Auto 5, you can play that in VR. You can play Half-Life 2 in VR. You can play one of the Doom games, I think Doom 3 or something like that. You can play that in VR. Alien Isolation, and the same person that modded Alien Isolation is supposed to be working on a VR mod for Halo Reach. So, and this was the kind of stuff that I wanted to see that would get us through, because when I first got on board with VR, I knew games like Half-Life Alyx, I knew those games were years away. So I was like, hey, take some of these classic games and give them a VR mod. And actually, that's what Bethesda did. They took last gen games like Doom and Skyrim, and they double dipped on those games. They gave them VR mods and sold them again, because they sold Skyrim VR for $60 for the longest. But I don't know. Anything that's available on Steam, I don't know. It depends on what the game is. If it's a game that I'm apprehensive about and not quite sure about it, I might look for it on G2A. But if it's a game I know I really want, I don't have a problem paying the full price for it. So, jeez, gotta work tomorrow, but I got Monday off. So I feel like I'm missing an arm with my PC gone, but again, the PlayStation VR and the Oculus Quest will get me through. So, unless anybody else got anything else they want to chop it up about, I'm going to get ready to boogie on out of here in a few minutes so I get some VR in before I call it a night. And I shaved too. Yeah. Got rid of that. Silky smooth. Yeah, I was being lazy. I like to stay, at least up here, I like to stay clean shaven. But I just never got around to it. I was being lazy. Project X, you said some reason Valve never makes a third game. Just look at their history. You know what, Jay Swoles and Project X? What if Half-Life 3 ends up being a VR game and a VR only game? Because Half-Life is a Valve game. Valve owns Steam. Valve also owns the Index, the $1,000 VR headset, the Valve Index. So I know they're not going to create a $1,000 VR headset and just not give us any games for it. I know they got to give us a couple of games, and I'm hoping that Half-Life Alyx is the start of a start of something great, where we going, where they'll get in there and go blow to blow with Oculus, because right now, at least in 2019, Oculus had the best exclusives. Blood and Truth was great, and Everybody's Golf ended up being much, much better than I thought. But 2019, Oculus had the exclusives. So, but yeah, I'd like to see Valve get in there and compete with them. And that's one of the. In addition to the $1,000, I didn't want to drop $1,000 for the Valve Index. But another reason why I didn't want to get it is because I felt like we weren't getting the kind of VR games yet to justify spending $1,000 for a headset. I wasn't going to spend $1,000 for a headset just so I could see VR games with Lego type graphics. So, but yeah, I mean, get more games like Half-Life Alyx. The hell yes, it'll definitely be worth $1,000. And I think there is an app called Revive or something like that, where you'll be able to use your Valve Index on the Oculus platform. Project X, let me see here. Thomas Burton, thanks for the info and great content. I'll be looking for the PC to return. Yeah, like I said, I'm hoping I get that call and they tell me it took a dump, so I can come and buy this PC right here. So yeah, because I'm definitely I definitely need my PC back, because then the circle will be complete again. Project X, you said PC fanboys would cry just like that. Diablo Mobile. Hey, if Microsoft would have followed through with that partnership with Oculus, they would have got a couple of games, Assassin's Creed in VR and Splinter Cell in VR. Those would have been a couple of games where these immature Xbox could have said, hey, we got this on the Xbox platform. You PlayStation guys don't got it. La, 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 all that bull crap. But nope. They ain't gonna get it. So, but I don't know. Something in my gut tells me that Microsoft is still watching this VR landscape. And when they see people get on board with VR and they start walking out with wheelbarrows full of money, so I think when again, going back to where I said that I think the floodgates are going to open when the PS5 comes out. When the PS5 comes out, that's when I think we could see the publishers like EA and 2K get on board with VR, because I think Bethesda is here to stay. They because they getting that double dip money. So Bethesda, I think they is here to stay. I think they're going to continue to invest in VR. Ubisoft is here, because Ubisoft got a few games. They've got Eagle Flight, Star Trek Bridge Crew, and Space Junkies. And and as I said before, they're working on Assassin's Creed in VR and Splinter Cell in VR for Oculus. So when the PS5 comes out, that's when I think the big publishers, Activision, EA, 2K, that's when I think they're going to get on board, because that's when they can make a game in VR and just release it across the board. Because if they were able to do like, I think PC VR right now, if EA was willing to do it, I think it's capable of having a fully playable Madden in VR right now. But it wouldn't sell worth a fuck because, it wouldn't sell worth a shit on PC. But if you combine both the PC demographic and the PlayStation VR demographic and combine both of those together, it might be worth it for EA to take a chance on a Madden with some kind of VR support. But I don't think the PlayStation 4 or the Pro, I don't think either of those games would be able to handle a Madden fully playable in VR. I think they could make it run right, but I think it would look like shit. It would be blurry as hell. But I think when the PS5 comes out, it's going to have enough power to make it look good, to make it run right, and be able to support, player versus player. And so I think that, again, when the PS5 comes out, I think that's when EA may, take a little chance and maybe make a smaller game for VR that they can release on both the PlayStation VR and PC. But make no mistake, they watching because both EA and Activision have, dived into VR because on the first Star Wars Battlefront, there is a X-wing mission, in VR. And then I think it might be Call of Duty. I think if Infinite Warfare, they have the Jackal mission in VR. So yes, they have done a little bit. They have dabbled a little bit. And Patient Fire, yo, what's good? Link in the chat. And Patient Fire, what's good with you? How you doing? Jay Swoles, let me see here. Oh, a couple of y'all said something. Thomas Burton, Microsoft wants the money, but don't want to spend any. It all started with the loss they took on Kinect and Xbox One launch. But that takes me back to what I was saying, that if they would that partnership with Oculus, they wouldn't have had to spend any money. All they would have had to do was flip the switch and let Oculus come in there and set up camp. Because Microsoft is not going to develop a headset. Microsoft is not going to develop any games. They would have just let Oculus come in there and set up camp. So I think the only money they would have spent is whatever they would have paid Oculus for this partnership, and whatever research and development costs it would have, taken to make the next console VR compatible. But they wouldn't have spent money on it the way Sony did. All the money Sony spent, developing and manufacturing their own headset. You said Microsoft wants all the games and doesn't want to spend it. That takes me back to that. That little saying that I used to have back when I was caught up in the console war. That Microsoft wants to make $2 million out of the paper bag. How much does a paper bag cost? 2 cents. And Microsoft wants to try to make $8 million off of that paper bag that costs 2 cents. That's the Microsoft way. Microsoft, if you want to, in some sense, Microsoft, they're bandwagoners. They sit back and watch and see what's hot and see what's blowing up and see what's making a ton of money, and then they come and try to jump on it. I think the idea from the Kinect still came from the Wii, the success of the Wii. I think when Microsoft started up the avatars on the 360, I think that was from the success of the Mii's that was on the Nintendo Wii. Hell, the games were gold. I think that was driven by the success of PlayStation Plus. So no, Microsoft, they are not innovative. As far as I'm concerned, they're not innovative, and they don't take any chances. They just sit back and watch what everybody else does. But I will say this though. Yeah, like I said, followers, Jay Swoles. Yeah, right. I will say this though. If Microsoft if Microsoft were to support VR in some manner on Scarlet when it comes out, if they were to support VR, whether they form a partnership with Oculus, somebody else, whatever the case may be, if Xbox supports VR, I think that would be the icing on the cake. When that happens, I think that's when I think people like EA and Activision, they'll come beating at VR's door, because now you got three platforms, um, where they can sell their games. You would have the Xbox, PlayStation, and PC, and those would be three huge demographics that they could put the games on. But right now, I don't think they feel that the market is big enough for them to get involved in it. But I do think that's going to change when the PS5 comes along. Again, for the thousandth time, when the PS5 comes along, the floodgates are going to open on these VR games. So Microsoft is always following. They never take any chances. Yeah. But according to Phil Spencer, though, when they had that E3, I think, was it this past year or last year? Leading up to that E3, Phil Spencer was talking about, oh, we're going to take some chances on existing franchises. When he said that, I had already read between the lines. I was like, oh, what that means is Halo, Gears, and Forza is already going to get another form that we probably haven't seen before, but it's still going to be Halo, Gears, and Forza. And what do we get? Gears Pops and Gears Tactics. You got a Gears strategy game for PC. And you got that mobile Gears game. So although I will say that the Gears Tactics, I think they should do VR support for Gears Tactics, because there's some genres that there's no way around it. The best experience is to do it in VR. Racing games, there's no better way as far as video games goes. With racing games, there's no better way to experience a racing game than in VR. I think with first-person shooter games, I think there's no better way to experience it than in VR, to actually be in the game, getting shot at and shooting at other people. I think strategy games, that's another game where the best experience would be in VR, where you can physically pick up the pieces yourself and set it wherever you want to do it, wherever you want to. And I think horror games is where, VR shines the most, because these horror games are just way too real in VR. So yeah, I think that would be a smart move to put Gears Tactics on VR. But we might get VR support for that flight simulator, that Microsoft Flight Simulator, because I know that the developers have said it. I've read articles where they said, VR support for Flight Simulator is very high on their priority list, and they said this about a week after Phil Spencer said that VR wasn't coming to the Xbox. Gotta get up for work early, but good stream, Clay. Catch you on the next one. I appreciate it, Thomas. Thanks for dropping by. I really appreciate it. I ain't gonna be on much longer myself, because I try to get in bed by midnight. It's a little after 10 o'clock Eastern time here, and I definitely want to have at least an hour to play some VR before I go to bed. Impatient Fire, you said Microsoft is allergic to new IPs. Like Quantum Break and Sunset Overdrive like Quantum Break and Sunset Overdrive flopped. Man, it's hard to believe how good of a lineup Microsoft had of exclusives on the original Xbox. Like I said, they had their own sports lineup. They had a football game. They had their own football game. They had their own baseball game. They had their own basketball game. They had Project Gotham, which I absolutely loved Project Gotham. Um, it had a great soundtrack too. Sometimes I would play Project Gotham just to hear some of the songs that was on that game. That was an excellent game. Lynx, which was a Microsoft Golf exclusive, to this very day was still the best golf game that I ever played. Better than Tiger Woods, way better than Tiger Woods. I think Tiger Woods, it was a good game, but I think it wasn't as good as it could have been because it had EA's hands all over it. Impatient Fire. They know that PC enthusiast crowd will be mad if Flight Simulator doesn't get VR. See, but keep in mind that Phil Spencer said that VR wasn't coming to the Xbox. They didn't say that VR. He didn't say that Microsoft wasn't doing VR at all. He just said it's not coming to the Xbox. So, in my opinion, why would the developers of Flight Simulator even say something about VR if if Phil Spencer wasn't going to allow it to be on that game? So, uh, I think it will. I think it will be in VR. I think we will see it in VR. I mean, I'm curious to see the game because what I've seen of it is a really good looking game. It looked real, the videos that I've seen look extra sharp. And articles that I read of people who played the game, they said the game was so sharp and um, the towns and neighborhoods and stuff was so accurate that the people playing the game flew over their own apartments and saw their own apartments, from Flight Simulator. And I would love to experience that in VR. So, Impatient Fire said, Jay Allard and the old guys that were responsible for the great games on OG Xbox are long gone. Those guys were true visionaries and gamers. They weren't frauds like Major Nelson and Phil Spencer. Again, the original Xbox had a great lineup. They had, and in addition to those sports games that I had mentioned, they had Project Cars. They had the original Forza, even though it wasn't like promoted the way it is now. They had, I forgot what that airplane game was called. Skies over Normandy. I can't remember what it was called. And then another one of my favorites on the original Xbox, they had Mech Assault, which was an amazing game, and I think Halo 2 might still be one of the best Halo games ever. I mean, because it was the first Halo that I ever played, online, with multiplayer, and I played that for hours. Matter of fact, Halo 2 was the game that made me go out and buy a second Xbox. So, Jay Swoles, will PS5 gonna make VR a household name? What are the chances? The thing that separates oh, you trying to say it separates PS5 and Scarlet is built in VR? Uh, I don't know. Maybe I read that question a little bit broken, Jay Swoles. But will PS5 make VR a household name? Yeah. Yes, they will. Everybody knows about VR, even if they don't want it. They know VR is there. It's on the rise, but VR would not be where it's at right now if it weren't for Sony. Sony is the first. They are the first ones that gave mainstream a taste of VR, because before Sony got involved with VR, it was super, super niche and super, super expensive. At the time that the PlayStation VR came out, The Oculus Rift CV1 and the HTC Vive, those headsets were $600 and $700 respectively. And then I think you needed to spend like no less than $1,000 for a computer that could push those VR headsets. So you looking at $1,600-$1,700 minimum just to jump on board with VR. Now, when the PlayStation VR came out, if you got the one with the Move controllers, that was $500. And then if you bought the best PlayStation console, which was the PlayStation Pro, that was $400. So it was $900. So $900 at the most is what you would spend to get into the PlayStation VR ecosystem, and that's like damn near half of what it would cost to get on board with PC VR. And when Sony, to me, I think one of the big things that got Sony where they're at right now is when they had those sales. I think the sales had a bigger impact than the games they were coming out with. Because what games, what PlayStation PSVR exclusives are you guys familiar with right now that made you say, okay, I'm thinking about getting a VR? Yeah, Astro got good praise, and Firewall is a great game. Blood and Truth is a great game. But I don't think none of those games screamed at people that said, I'm going to get a VR tomorrow. I think it was when they had those sales, when they put the PlayStation VR headset on sale for $200. I think that's what put it where we're at right now. And I think the first time they put the PlayStation VR headset on sale for $200, I think the results were overwhelmingly positive, and all I could think about was Sony could totally destroy the market. If this PlayStation VR headset was a permanent $200, I promise you people that wasn't even thinking about VR would have got one just so they could have another option as far as gaming goes. But when you got a peripheral that costs $500 and it costs more than a console, yeah, it's kind of hard to get people on board with that. Even with the PS5 coming out, and Sony, I think they need to really do that. I think they need to keep pushing that message that the current PlayStation VR headset is going to work with the PS5, and I think they need to knock that headset down to a permanent $200, and they will have. I think the results would be astronomical. No question. If the PlayStation VR was a permanent $200, shit, I know they would have been over 5 million. I dare say they would have been sitting on 5.5 million, or even staring 6 million in the face if the headset was a permanent $200. That's no doubt in my mind about that. Spartan guy, you said Lincoln Clay is set tripping when it comes to VR. You know what? That's another thing that I think is a testament to the growth of VR. Spartan God is the kind of response that I got right now, because when I was caught up in the console war and doing streams and doing these rant streams, going in on Microsoft and going in on Phil Spencer and that kind of stuff, I think I could, I was getting anywhere from 20 to 40 viewers on a podcast. I think the most viewers I had at once was like maybe close to 50. But when I transitioned over to VR, the amount of viewers I was getting for live streams was going down and down and down. I'm grateful. I have 11 viewers in here right now, and I'm grateful for it. But I think I would have a little bit more viewers if I hadn't got thrown in YouTube jail, because I think when I got thrown in jail, YouTube also stifles, my videos getting out, because I understand they disable notifications. So if I had never got thrown in YouTube jail, I think I would have hit 600 subscribers by now, and I think I'd have a bigger audience watching my live streams. But I think that still speaks to the interest of VR, because like you guys know that I'm like 99% VR, but here here you guys are, chilling out with me, listening to me talking about VR. So I think that's a great thing. Spartan God, if the DualShock doesn't have the light bar like it's rumored to not have, I think the PSVR 1.0 is working on PS5. Oh, you said you don't think PSVR 1.0 is working on PS5. Hmm. That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking about that light bar thing. I think you guys would probably be right that for VR purposes, the DualShock 5 or whatever this controller is going to be called, I think is, yeah, they got to put a light bar on it. That's another thing that I'm curious about is when the PS5 comes along and we have much more powerful hardware, are the games going to look a little bit cleaner through the headset? So with the current PlayStation VR right now, everything up close is crystal clear. It's razor sharp. Sometimes it's the background that you're dealing with the blur. Some of it, some of it is okay. Some of it is awful. Because that blur in the background of Drive Club is just absolutely awful. I love the game, but I'm being honest, the blur on that game is just terrible. The blur of the background on GT Sport in VR is tolerable. So it's not razor sharp, but it's clear enough that you can see the turns coming up before you get there. He said, I think they will look cleaner like how they look when I plug my PSVR into my PC. Yeah, please answer that question for me, Impatient Fire. When you plug your PSVR headset into your PC, is the picture clear or do you got any blur on there? Because that's the one question that had been burning inside of me for the last couple of years. Are the games blurry on the PlayStation VR? Is it because of the headset or is it because of the console? The drifting issues that I get with the aim controller. It's not just the aim controller. It's Drive Club has drifted on me, even though I've used the DualShock 4. Tetris Effect has drifted on me, even though I use a DualShock 4. So that begged the question: what's causing the drifting? Is it the console or is it the camera? You said the picture is definitely clear. You know what? When I get my PC back or get a new PC or whatever the case may be, Impatient Fire, why don't you walk me through how to hook my PlayStation VR up to the PC? Because I would like to see that because I'm definitely curious. Spartan God, you said the PlayStation 1 will be 25 years old. 26. I don't even think the PS4 Pro is powerful enough to use PSVR 1.0 to its full potential. I 100% agree. And I think that's one of the reasons why we don't have bigger name publishers on board with VR yet, because um, going back to the EA thing, I think PC is powerful enough that they could develop a game like Madden or Battlefield fully playable in VR, and I think it would look good on PC, and I think it would run good on PC. I think on the PlayStation VR, I think it would probably run good, but it's gonna look like shit. Look no further than Ace Combat 7. If anybody has done the VR mission on Ace Combat 7, When you first pop that game in, the graphics on Ace Combat 7 are amazing. It's current gen graphics, with the looks like it's checkerboard rendered and all that good stuff, HDR and all that kind of stuff. But as soon as you switch over to VR, the graphics go back a generation. The graphics look like, PS3 360 stuff. So that's what we would be dealing with. I think the game would not look good enough that it would draw any interest if they would have put it on PlayStation VR right now. But again, when the PS5 comes out and they can release the game across both PC and the PlayStation VR, and I think they would look within the general ballpark of each other. That's going to be enough to draw some people in. Yeah, you're right. Impatient Fire. It's just a shame that they didn't do that entire game in VR. What I really wish would have happened is, I wish they would have had a VR multiplayer on that game, where you take it off from a carrier and you have a squadron of live people that you fly with, and you go engage in an air fight with the enemy, or go try to bomb the enemy's carrier, or go try to bomb the enemy's base. Because I played a game like that called Over G, which I think was a very underrated game on the 360. So I would have loved to see a VR multiplayer on Ace Combat 7. But hey, but I already knew by the time Ace Combat 7 came out, I already knew that the PlayStation VR was limited. I know the hardware made it limited, so I already knew not to get my hopes up for a VR multiplayer. He said, I'm looking forward to more Ace Combat on PSVR 2 and PS5. Yeah, I think it's going to look great. So, damn, I've been on here an hour and a half. I really need to get going. I'm reaching that point where my voice is starting to get a little bit scratchy again. But hey, but this is what I missed, though. This is what I missed about talking to you guys when I was in VR. When I was in YouTube jail. Again, this is another podcast where the stuff that I needed to say was only going to take about 15 minutes, but you guys kept the chat going. You guys kept the conversation going. So I really appreciate that. Now, as always, I enjoy kicking it with y'all. I enjoy chopping it up with y'all. Impatient Fire, you said VR multiplayer in Ace Combat would be insane. Hopefully we get that on the PS5. Man, I think the PS5 would be capable of doing it, but would they be worried about a possible backlash because it would alienate people who are still on the PS4? They wouldn't be able to join into that. Spartan guys, you said this backwards compatibility issue is back to life about PlayStation 1, PlayStation 4 support. I really don't care about backwards compatibility, because if I was worried about backwards compatibility from past generations, I would have kept the corresponding consoles for those games. If I was worried about playing first generation PlayStation games, I would still have the original PS1 and so forth. And I've said it before, I had last generation on the 360. I had a 360 that was, what's the word I'm looking for? It had some alterations. That's probably the best way to put it. I had a 360 that had some alterations, and I had about 300 games, and I had access to hundreds more. But when this current gen came up, when the PS4 came out, I was no longer interested in those 300 games that I had on the 360. So I sold the console along with the 300 games. I even sold my DJ Hero turntable. I think I did. Yeah, I think I sold that. I think I still got my Guitar Hero guitar though. And Spartan guy, let me see here. You said I don't know, man. Sony ain't having these rumors taken down. You know, I'm not even trying to imply whether these rumors are false or not. I'm just saying that I don't need backwards compatibility because when the PS5 comes out, I'm going to be playing PS5 games. I'm not going to be buying a new console just to go backwards and play old games. Let me backtrack on that. They already said it that the PlayStation VR is going to work on the PS5, so that part is cool. Flat screen games, I do not care about backwards compatibility. Impatient Fire, you said I still own all my PlayStations dating back to the PS1, and they all work. I'm only interested in backwards compatibility for PS4 games. Um, Shit, I like my PS3. I sold it like 2 months before the PS4 came out. So I was stuck with an Xbox 360 as my only console, and that was tough to deal with because towards the end of the generation, definitely the PlayStation exclusives got better and better towards the end of the generation. I think Killzone 2 and Resistance 2, two of the best games that I ever played on the PS3. Also, Heavy Rain was a great game. Now the Mag, where you had where you had multiplayer, like a 264 multiplayer. Um, I like the idea of the game, but when I played it, it was just total chaos. It was just like shit flying everywhere in that game. And the best way to get kills was to stay on the outside of all the fighting and just try to snipe people. But that game was massive, and that's what it stood for. MAG, it stood for Massive Action Gaming. You said selling off my PS3 was the hardest thing to do. I don't know, man. The PlayStation 3 did something more special for me than the PlayStation 1 and 2. I get where you're coming from. See, but the situation was when I sold my PS3 is one, I needed to sell the PS3 before the PS4 came out. Because if I would have waited until the PS4 came out before selling that PS3, it would have depreciated the console. I would have been because I think I sold it for like $250. Now, if I would have waited until the PS4 came out, I might have had to lower the price down to $200 or offer a shit ton of games with it in order to get it sold. So I wanted to sell it while it was still worth something and while it was still in demand. Because I think once the PS4 would have came out, demand for the PS3 was probably going to drop off. So, yeah, so I made the decision to go ahead and sell it while it was still worth something because with the PlayStation 4 launching at $400, I only came out of pocket $150. And that was the other thing. I was trying to offset some of that money instead of dropping all that money at once. And that's the situation that I'm facing right now. I've been putting away $20 a week to go towards my PS5. And as of right now, I got about $300 saved up for my PS5. I mean, it wouldn't matter anyway because I would have put it on my credit card if I didn't have the money immediately right then and there. But either way, I got it because I still got money tucked away. Even after buying that car, I still got money tucked away. He said, "Yeah, Mac was ahead of its time." Also, love Dust 514, that massive online first-person base in the Eve Online universe. Yeah, I didn't do that Eve Online thing, but yeah, Sony had a lot of different stuff like that PlayStation Home. The way they expanded that world on that PlayStation Home, That alone was one of the reasons to get a PS3. But again, that was I think the PS Home was great, but again, I think they did it too late in the generation. I think that was something they should have did early in the generation, so they could have kept building it up over the years. I think it came out like maybe 2 years before the PS4 came out. So they did add to it, but it seemed like they was just cramming shit in there to try to build try to build that world up. If they would have did that from the beginning, yeah, I think the world could have been massive, and that's just one of the things that PlayStation Home. I think that's one of the things that flew under the radar. Not only that, what better way to do PlayStation Home than in VR? Because you do got the Oculus Home right now. Um, you have a home on the Oculus platform, and you can have as many homes as you want. Like on the Oculus platform, I've got 3 homes. I've decorated 2 of them. I've added furniture and big screen TVs and shit like that to 2 of my homes on the Oculus platform. The 3rd home, I haven't done anything to it yet because I just haven't gotten around to it. And what's slick about the Oculus Home is you can venture out and go check out other people's home, and like other people got some slick stuff in their home. Like Gamertag, I went into his home and he got this big giant statue of Lynx from Breath of the Wild, and that was pretty slick. So yeah, checking out other people's Oculus homes, that's pretty slick. And you said a lot of things were ahead of its time. PlayStation 3 had mad shit ready last gen. It wasn't ready for mass adoption, and I think poor marketing as well as probably doing the shit late in the generation was one of the reasons why these things fell short. Because I think they were amazing experiences. I thought for certain Mag would have caught on, because that came along at a time when people was going nuts for Call of Duty and shit. So, definitely, the first person shooter games was definitely hitting their stride. You said, look now, Battle Royale games. I will say one of the games that I'm looking forward to this year on VR is a game called Population 1. It is Fortnite in VR. It is a battle royale game, and you can build forts just like on Fortnite. This game is Fortnite in VR all the way. It's also crossplay, so people on the Quest can play on people with the PC. I don't know if this game has plans to come to the PlayStation VR or not, but I know all the PC headsets, Vive, Index, Oculus, all that stuff, they can all cross-play with each other, as well as the Quest. So that's one of the few Battle Royale games that I'm looking forward to this year. Yeah, PS3 in general was way ahead of its time. One of the features that I absolutely loved about the PS3 was the video chat, where you could form a party video chat. You had to do it from the dashboard, but yeah, you could have 6 people in there at once, where everybody had their video cameras going. So I thought that was a neat feature that was ahead of its time too. But and I thought for certain that Sony would have continued to support it, coming into this generation. But hey, they didn't. Impatient Fire. There's a bunch of battle royale games out there right now in VR. There's a game called I think it's called the Last Player. That's a battle royale VR game. The one that I got is one called Standout, which I think is okay. I think there's about 4 or 5 battle royale games out there in VR, but I think and then with this Population 1, your characters can fly, because some of these dudes, some of the characters got jetpacks on, flying through the air. So I think this Population 1 might have the potential to be the best battle royale VR game out there. So it is something that I'm looking forward to, and yes, I don't really care about VR like that. I think the market is oversaturated with VR games, but that is one that I'm looking forward to. So we're working our way towards 11 o'clock, and I still got to eat yet. Oh boy, and I gotta get up, get in bed here soon to get ready for work tomorrow. Um, but like I said, I got Monday off, so I definitely playing the Spartan guy. You said Apex Legends in VR. VR is at the point right now, Spartan God, with just about any popular first person shooter game flat screen, I'd be willing to try it in VR. There is no doubt in my mind that if Activision made Call of Duty fully playable in VR, they would sell some headsets. No question about it. Especially if they were to put it on Steam. When the PS5 comes along, if they make shit, what if when the PS5 comes along, that Sony does an exclusive deal with Activision where you can only play Call of Duty in VR on the PS5? What if they did something like that? There's no doubt in my mind it would sell. No doubt in my mind it would sell. Battlefield in VR. Even though I haven't played that game in God knows how long, I think it's still a good game. And even with the goddamn SJW shit behind Battlefield 5, I still think it's a good game. And I would love to play that or any of the Battlefields in VR. Impatient Fire, you said, I'll probably buy an Oculus headset after I upgrade my PC. I heard Nvidia is launching the new 30 series cards in June. And they probably gonna cost a fucking arm and a leg. I'm still good with an RTX 2070. So yeah, that Alienware right there, yeah, that's looking pretty good. So that one right there, that one's got to take a dump. They got to tell me it can't be resuscitated, so I can get that one. So I keep saying I'm gonna go ahead and get on out of here, but I'm gonna go ahead and boogie on out of here. Um, I think the news has been really, really slow this week, as far as especially with VR news. It's been really, really slow. With that being said, I can't say for certain if I'm going to do live from Wakanda Saturday or not, unless the subject just comes up that that I feel like I need to talk about. Because this podcast tonight, I really didn't need to talk about it, but I did want to talk about the fact that I hope my computer dies so I can get another one, and talk about the massive Oculus Quest communities that's out there. I mean, that took me by total surprise to see two communities with 18,000 and 34,000 members. That's incredible. You said I'm still rocking a 1070, so a 3080 would be a huge jump from damn. CES should be interesting in the next couple of days. I hope we get some VR news there. As far as Oculus goes, if they happen to be there, I think the only news you might get from Oculus is maybe a date for Medal of Honor VR. Maybe we'll get a concrete date, because Oculus Connect doesn't happen until like around September, which Medal of Honor VR will have already been out by then. And not only that, by the time Oculus Connect comes around, if Lone Echo 2 isn't already out, we should have a date for that by then. So if Oculus happens to be at CES, I would like to think that we'll get a concrete date for Medal of Honor VR, because I think that's the first big title that's slated to release from them this year. I doubt it, but it would probably be nice to get some more tidbits about Assassin's Creed in VR and Splinter Cell in VR. Guy Cole, what happened to my PC? Third PC took a dump. I don't know what's wrong with it. All I can tell you is that when I booted the PC, you'll get the Alienware logo on the screen, and then it just completely goes black. Nothing. So I don't know if the SSD took a dump. I don't know if the computer was like overheating, because when I first fired the PC up, it was running good for about 20 minutes, and then it just went out, and that was the end of it. It wasn't no coming back from it. So I don't know if the PC was running hot. I don't know if something was downloaded into the PC that corrupted it or not. So it's in transit as we speak right now, on its way to Kentucky. It should arrive there sometime tomorrow, and then with that being said, I expect to get some kind of news next week. And what I'm hoping for, as I said, is that the PC above my head, that's the one I have. I hope they tell me that the thing is dead and it can't be repaired, so I can get this one right here. Just come back to the console side. We will welcome you with open arms. I never left the console space. I still got my PS4 and I still got my PlayStation VR. It's just that the VR world, in terms of how many games are out there right now, when you combine the PlayStation VR and PC VR, the amount of games that's out there now is beyond imagination. And VR games is coming out a mile a minute. I mean, like, I think this past year in May, I think you had like 12 games released in 1 month, along with the Oculus Quest, which released that month also. And I think the Oculus Rift S released a couple of months before that. You said, but the Master Race doing you dirty. Yeah, my son used that. He used that adjective. My son used that adjective a few days ago and said PC Master Race. I mean, because since I bought him that PC, he was barely touching his Xbox. He was using his Xbox to watch YouTube. I think the only reason he uses his Xbox now is because he got Call of Duty for Christmas. So if it wasn't for that, he wouldn't be touching his Xbox One X. So yeah, he was talking a little bit of that Master Race, PC Master Race. Yeah, I never left console. Matter of fact, I did a stream a couple of days ago. I did a Firewall stream a couple of days ago on the PlayStation VR. So I never left. You had some bad luck with pre-built. Hindsight is 2020, Guy Cole, but I think with bottom line was, I think I was pushing the PC harder than what it was meant to do. Because I was telling everybody at the beginning of this podcast that I was watching videos, and a lot of these guys that's talking about, using 2 PC setups to stream and game. They were saying that if you're going to stream and game from the same PC, that you need at least an i7, and my computer had an i5. So I don't know if the workload that I put on that PC is what killed it, but I think it contributed to it. So yeah, but that's it now. It's damn near 11 o'clock. My voice is getting scratchy. I got to eat something. I want to get some gaming in before I call it a night. So again, thanks for watching, everybody. I'd like to do a podcast tomorrow or Saturday. Like I said, I don't think there's enough news out there to do live from Wakanda. But any other podcast, I don't want to do a podcast just to do it. I want to have something to talk about. So I guess I'll search for a subject, and if I can find something worth talking about, then I'll do another podcast. So With that being said, I think I'm gonna get ready to boogie on out of here. Shout out to everybody who popped in here. I definitely appreciate it. You guys kept this podcast going easily for about an hour, because like I said, the stuff that I needed to talk about only took about 15 minutes, but here we are almost 2 hours later still kicking it. So you guys are the reason why that happened, because you guys kept the conversation going, and I absolutely love that, and I appreciate all of y'all. So I'm gonna go ahead and boogie on out of here, and I will see everybody later. No word of whether we gonna do a roundtable podcast tomorrow. We know the situation with Thrash. You've been working a lot lately and that kind of stuff. But if we should happen to do a roundtable podcast tomorrow, I will be there. The roundtable podcast is still one of my homes. Thanks a lot, Impatient Fire. Appreciate it. Peace out to you too. But that's gonna do it, y'all. I'm gonna get on out of here. Like, comment, share, all that good stuff. And me, I'm gonna keep on pumping them tweets out on Twitter and stuff like that. And I'll holler at y'all later. Deuces.